Hey everyone, today we're getting out to investigate this one here. Look at all that water getting diverted down the road. This is a little bit messed up. So by design, there's supposed to be a little wall here to force it into the culvert pipe. But if the culvert gets clogged, it's supposed to be able to go over that wall, into the ditch, down to the next pipe, which is open. But the ditch, for one, is completely filled in, neglected. This wall is too high, so it's causing it to go down the road, and it was going across heavily at some point. It's a lot of neglect. And the pipe is, I'm guessing, directly under me because it seems kind of flat. Gotta be careful approaching that because it's so icy. There we go. I'm trying to get a look at the pipe, which I'm assuming is right here. Let's get all that chunks out of the way. Well, we're gonna deem this one collapsed if it's plastic. Let's go look at the other side. Another inspector's been down here looking at the same thing. See the footprints? It could just be frozen. It's so deep in the road. Why am I seeing screws in it? Are they trying to be like the Mass DOT that tried putting these together with literal deck screws? Wow. It's completely frozen. So, and it even looks like beavers were chewing it. This may have been reused from somewhere. The screws may have been holding on another piece or a beaver deceiver or something. But it's frozen shut. When that thing thaws eventually, it should start working again, because the opening there's nothing there. And I'm guessing it's not frozen because it's so deep in the ground. It's deep enough, I don't think it's anything wrong. And I think it's probably only frozen maybe here max, just the end of it. It's so deep, I don't think the ground's frozen down that far, especially it being a wet ground. Wet ground does not freeze as far down as dry ground. But there's exceptions to that. Yeah, it's frozen. The end is completely open there. This issue should clear itself up, but this ditch still needs work. Today is April 21st, 2025. You see in the trees, we got about an inch of snow last night. Didn't really stick to the ground because it was kind of warm, I guess, the road still. But you see it stuck up in the trees. It looks kind of pretty. There's still over a foot of snowpack in this area of northern Maine. Next week is supposed to be pretty warm though. Outside right now is only 36 degrees or 2 degrees Celsius. It's still very, very cold overnights. But I'm loving it. Perfect temperature for sleeping in the truck. I can't stand sweaty weather. I'd rather it be below freezing. I personally sleep horrible if it's above 60 or 15 Celsius. Love the cold weather. Good, we got one more road we're supposed to inspect today. Alright everyone, we're turning down this road, which has a couple logs that fell out of a truck here. So we're going to inspect this road today, where logging operations are going to start in June. We'll go as far as it's passable. Someone else has recently been down here. We're just taking a look at the culverts, but it is still kind of frozen. June is when it's estimated to be done with mud season and once again able to hold tractor trailers. This time of year, there could be sinkholes anywhere. The road could look dry and you could just sink into a mud pit. So you gotta have a winch out here. There's no signal. No one's one's gonna hear the CB radio out this far. Okay, right here. Something's up here. It's a wet area. Ooh. That's who made the tracks. It's a bit slippery here. Alright, give him a wave. Could be wrong. I think we're supposed to take the road to the right, but we'll go up here first and see if that's it or not. We might need four-wheel drive up here. Might as well use it because I'm losing traction a little bit. Alright, this is it right here. Got stuck here. That's a snow drift. That's why it's so deep in that one spot. You gotta be careful when we go into the snow, it can be slippery. Still a good amount of snow up here. Alright, I don't see an end to this snow right here, and as I'm going forward, even in four-wheel drive, I'm sliding towards the edge a bit, so I'm not attempting this any further. This one is just going to be wrote down as Impassable. Backing into an intersection, which is also completely impassable. But I knew this was all a dead end. This is like a spider web of roads, or I should say more like a tree of roads. It all just keeps branching off into more and more tiny little stuff. So eventually you got to turn around and come back. So I didn't flag anything on the way out, but I did see a couple potential hazards up here that I need to get out and flag. This bridge is fine. This year was one of the lightest spring thaws I've ever seen. Usually we'll come across a few missing bridges. I haven't found any this year. And we've been out here doing this type of inspection for about a month now. We're slowly pushing north as it melts because we obviously can't go down half of these roads still. Okay, right here is something I wanted to get out and take a look at. This culvert pipe right here. Let's get out together and take a look at it. Shut the truck off for a minute. No one's around. I'm the only tire tracks this far out, so if someone does come, it'll be from down there. I absolutely love tamarack trees. They're really pretty. This road must be beautiful in the fall when they all turn bright yellow. So we have a culvert pipe here. It's working, but it's damaged and it's not very deep. That's going to be completely destroyed by the log trucks when they come in here. So it might even have a slight clog. I'm not sure if it's right down there or if it's under the road. It doesn't appear to be clogged. I see nothing there. No evidence that there's beavers. This is the beaver's favorite food, all these willow trees. You'd see evidence. But we got to put up some blue ribbons, meaning there's a water issue here, so the pipe can be replaced when they start fixing the road a little bit for logging. All right, all set. We'll get the little air freshener out of the way. It's a cool air freshener. Looks like a lizard. All right, we marked it. I always use big pieces of ribbon because when the leaves start growing on the trees, you're not going to see it if you just use a couple inches. It's going to just get covered up. All right, something else up here I also wanted to stop at. Here we are. The fact that the culvert is showing, even if it wasn't damaged, that it has to be buried deeper because frost has obviously brought it up. I don't think it was installed that way. I think frost is what is responsible for that. So we have to go ahead and put up some ribbons on either side of it. So you don't see this every day. This culvert's actually stronger than the average plastic one. And look, that thing's completely blocked. The grader must have thrown this debris down here. Pretty blocked up. I think we can open that a little bit actually. Got a large rock right here. Look at the inside of it. It's lined a lot better. It's a more thick-walled pipe. You don't see those too often because they cost a lot more, and I'm incredibly surprised to see one on a temporary road. A higher quality pipe. Are we actually gonna drain anything here? Oh, what is that? That's a big rock that I can't move, or it might be frozen in there. Okay, we got that open. Got it very clearly marked, because believe it or not, if it's not very clearly marked, this usually won't get fixed. Ooh, look in there. There's a rock. Pretty big rock. Oh, did not expect to grab onto something so massive. Look at that. I just saw part of it sticking up in there out of the mud. It's pretty big. Can we get this thing flowing at all? Well, let's start by shutting the truck off. And we'll get the rake. We can open that up actually and get this thing running for now, so there's no further damage to the road if we get a rainstorm and the pipe's not there to work. I can't believe there's no erosion of where it's been crossing, because it's the last pipe in the little corner right here. It has no other pipe it can possibly go to. All right, everyone, we're gonna get this one flowing real good. That's watercress. Great for erosion control, but a pain in the butt to get out of here. Another big rock. Well, that one's massive. That's gonna stay there. Now, we did really good there. Here's what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. Exhausted. That only took 2 minutes, but still very tired. Now, let's see if we can get some of this to go in there. Oh, come on. More big rocks. There's like a huge rock at the bottom. If I could move that, we could get a ton of flow. But the fact that it's not even budging means we're done. It's flagged. Let the excavator get it now. We did good. Alrighty, time to move on. I think that was it for this road, but we're gonna try a different road now. Go down here a bit, if we can take it. Oh, I shouldn't have shut the camera off because this is literally 5 seconds over the hill. We're not taking the risks of these roads. I could probably get down most of them at this point in the year, but it's hard to tell depth in a spot like that. We could easily get stuck in a snowbank or slide off on a patch of ice. Yeah, see? It literally just went a few seconds down the road because we're already back. Now this was the bad part of the road, where I was scuffing the undercarriage a little bit on the way in. Now we're going to try a couple of different roads down here. This road they're not going to log this year, but I still want to see what's down it. You can already tell it's in very bad shape, just coming in the end here. Kind of overgrown. We are probably the first vehicle of the year down here. If it's completely snow covered, that's when I will turn around. If I can't see the end of the snow. I've got the winch, but I'd rather not. Wow, this is very, very, very bumpy and messed up here. Is that something in the road? Yeah, now I see why no one wants to come down here. The road's literally blocked. Look at that. They're not going to maintain a bridge on an abandoned road, so look at that. The bridge deck is still there. It was probably a risk keeping it open. In fact, that deck looks like it's in better shape than a couple of them that are still open. I don't see holes through it. I know of a couple bridges that have holes through the deck that are still open. And that's not really a safety problem, because underneath that wooden deck, there's bigger timbers similar to railroad ties. So you punch through the deck, you're just gonna go down a couple of inches to the bigger beams. And underneath those bigger beams are huge I-beams. So you're not gonna fall through these type of bridges. Roads are so narrow and the edges are soft, so I gotta really watch how far I back up. Okay, so now we'll try that first road that I mistaken on the way in, or the one I didn't mistake it, I thought it may have been it. We will go ahead and take a look at that one on our way out. And we're also going to take a look at that flooded area that we saw at the entrance of this on the main artery. All right, here we go. And there's the flood I was talking about. We'll take a look at on the way out because there's got to be a pipe there that's not working. Guessing it's frozen. Someone else put a blue ribbon up. That wasn't me. There probably should be a culvert pipe here, but I don't think there is. During the dry season, there's certain parts of Maine that the soil is basically sand. It just won't hold water. You don't always need a culvert pipe. Mud season means there's... Oh! Almost slid off the road. That's what I was talking about. There can be unexpected ice even under the shallow snow. We'll keep going because I see no snow up ahead. Yeah, I think we can go for a bit. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's so slippery, it doesn't even feel like we have four-wheel drive. Back there, that's a spot I gotta be careful of. I could tell you can sink in some of those spots. It's not doing very well. This area here is not gonna be logged for a while, but it's probably about due for it, looking at the trees. This is all a giant tree farm. None of this is old growth anymore. They grow it 40 years, cut it down, replant over and over again. Now the road's in much better shape. Before I even get to areas like this, when I see the groups of willow trees close together, you just know that there's a water problem and there's probably a former beaver swamp, and that's exactly what this is. At one point this was beavers. Going over the culvert pipe, that one's in good shape. I've been here before. I think I've been on this road before. I think this next culvert here we've even unclogged before. Yeah, when you see lots of willow trees, you know there's water around. So during mud season, you got to be extra careful of the road. We're gonna scrape this one a little bit. Look at this tree. Nails on a chalkboard. This road's getting rough. Wow, look at the snowpack here. The snow drift is deep. Oh wow, look at this open clearing. It's kind of cool. This is where you can see super far and look for animals. These giant clearings like this attract a lot of wildlife. Because once they clear it, the first thing to start growing is berry bushes. Then they die out when the new trees start to shade them out. So all the clearings from farms, logging companies, all that kind of stuff is why a lot of times you'll have overpopulation of things like deer. I'm gonna turn around the first chance I get. I don't like this road because there's very little to use my winch on if I get stuck. And this is one of those roads you can sink anywhere because it's unpredictable, the stability of the ground, because it's definitely still frozen. And it's the end of the road anyways. Let's see if we can turn around without problem. We have no one else's tire marks to go on because I'm the first vehicle of the year, and Sometimes you feel better if you have someone else's tracks. But then I followed tracks that look very, very fresh. But then you come up to a snowbank and it goes right through them. So obviously they're a lot older than you thought. It just got preserved in the frozen ground. That's why it looked fresh. But I don't see any reason why we won't have a smooth ride back out of here. There's one pipe I will mark on the way out. It doesn't appear to be damaged or crushed, but improper compaction. So there's a big hole, and every wheel that falls into that hole is a risk of crushing that pipe. Alrighty, here we are coming up to a former beaver swamp. See this big dip in the road? Every wheel that goes through this is putting a lot of stress on that pipe. Let's go out and do it real quick. Alright, all good. See, it's a pretty big dip. They'll fix this before they log it, but... Oh, see, even bottomed out. That's how big of a dip that is. I have over a foot of clearance, but yet I still bottomed out a little bit. It's a bad one. Alright, we're out. Now it is time to see what's going on right here. Is there a culvert pipe? It's likely frozen because look at this amount of snowpack. I don't think there was a pipe back there. I think that was just a puddle. Here I'm guessing there's a pipe. Probably frozen. Nope, it's flowing. Looks a bit flooded. Could it be beavers? We're gonna get out for a moment and take a look. All right, we're out. I think it's open. Look what we have in that little crack. There's a whirlpool down there. Look at that. Kaboom. Now we can see what's going on in there. It's powerful. Look at that, it's sucking ice into there. Gonna get down and figure out where the pipe is. Okay, I think I'm standing on it. Let's see if there's anything we could get out of there. Like this. It's kind of big. If we get it from the end, I might have a better chance of levering it out of here. Like that, yeah. Just flip this whole thing out of the pipe. I think, ouch, that's the majority of it. Okay. Oh wow. I did not expect to make such a difference there. Yeah, that was 100% of the blockage. That just increased flow by ripping that out of there. Now it's flowing like double speed. And what kind of tracks do we have here? I didn't think that was gonna go so well. I regret not putting up camera number 2. But we got footage of it. Here's what it looked like before. And here's what it looks like now. Yeah, we just increased flow a lot. That flood back there could potentially be connected. It's not connected surface-wise, but groundwater-wise, I think so. So we look over here. This is all gonna start dropping. I could tell immediately this was flooded. Even though willow trees love water, they will not start growing in the water. They're very tolerant to flooding, but they will eventually drown and die. Yeah, this is gonna drop down fast. Considering how it's not crossing the road, you can see the erosion. It has been. Today it wasn't. which means it is coming in slower than it's leaving. So this should be good. Real nice. I bet there's so much current. Let's see if we can get it to suck in a rock. The whirlpool's trying to go again. Nice. Stepping out of the truck again, we got moose poop right away. And this is really beautiful. The reflection of the snowy trees. Beautiful section of road. I stopped here because I'm assuming there's got to be a culvert here, and it's probably right there. I see that, which is groundwater, I'm assuming. Could be a culvert completely buried, but I'm not thinking so. So we come up here a little bit. Oh, where's the pipe? It could be one of those situations where there's no pipe and it's just very sandy ground that allows it to drain under normal conditions. It could be. But looking in here, it looks like there's always a little bit of water, just based on how the trees are growing. There's water grass down there. So it looks like there's always a little something, but it is over flooded at the moment because the ground just can't absorb it. I wonder how far this road's gonna go too. Okay, I don't think there's a culvert pipe now. The water's pretty clear to see through. I think the water's getting through the road because I think when they built this road, it was a mud hole, and for the log trucks wouldn't get stuck, they just laid a bunch of logs in the road to drive over. And then they put some dirt over the top of it. Because if I look down here in the water, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but there's a bunch of logs sticking out in there that are under here, and I think the water's just slipping through a crevice between the logs. A lot more willow trees. They grow fast and they make the road close in. If people stop coming down here, they will fill in the road very quickly. It's the end of the trail for us. Even if it was summer, I wouldn't want to attempt going down there. It looks like there's literally a culvert missing. And I'm on soft ground, my front wheels. I don't need that today. The winch is on the front, so I can only pull myself forward. That's gonna be a tough night. What I'm experiencing right now is it feels like the ground is frozen underneath a thin layer of mud. Just the way I'm sliding. But the road was solid. We got a good clearance out of here. Look at the couple old growth trees up there, towering 3 times taller than everything else. It's kind of cool. The loggers would leave those up, hoping they would drop seeds and replant everything. Alright, I just pulled over at this one because I see water there going down into a hole. And this area is not supposed to be flooded. Those bushes wouldn't have grown out there like that. I just kicked that around a little bit. The end of the pipe is completely crumpled and mangled by an excavator. So there's really no opening that one up any more than we have. So now we're gonna turn around once again. All right, we got a pretty bad section of road here. We're gonna go into 4-wheel drive as a precaution. Look at this. Thankfully, we're not bottoming out. Right now, we're riding in some tracks. Riding in some ruts that are a good 8 inches. We're not bottoming out quite yet. I don't think we will. I see the end in sight. I drove through this a few weeks back also. It's got a little better in my opinion, because I think some of the frozen ground is giving and allowing it to drain. Every single time I go home, I'm bringing a few 100 pounds of mud with me. It's just caked on the undercarriage. You gotta get under there. It takes hours to pressure wash the inside of the frame. all that kind of stuff. All the skid plates will have like many inches just packed up inside them. Yeah, that improved actually a lot since I was here a couple weeks ago. I actually thought I was going to get stuck last time I had to go through that. Unless I'm thinking of a different spot that occurred, which is possible, but I think it's the same spot. Look at that, everyone. Finally seeing some wildlife out here. Can you see them in there? There's some turkeys in there. They were in the road, but they just took off. This time of year, you're gonna see lots and lots of log piles because the roads are too soft. They can't run tractor trailers in here. Even with regular trailers, they weigh about 80,000 pounds, so they can easily get stuck. So you're not gonna find them. You also gotta be careful this time of year pulling over. It's very soft near the drainage ditch. But come summer, when the roads are all dried out, or in the winter when they're frozen, they'll have up to 200,000 pound log trucks. Typically they'll have a double wide trailer. Every now and then you'll see one with 2 individual trailers, but you don't see that too often up here because it's more likely to get stuck. Look at that awesome frost crack in the road. So the top layer of the road freezes. As it continues freezing down, it's still expanding with nowhere to go, so it cracks the whole road open. Now we come up to a bridge with a beautiful swamp. We can see far in the distance that no one's coming, so we're going to stop for a moment to show you the beautiful swamp. So pretty. Beavers love this swamp. They almost always build a dam under this bridge every year. Lots of tamarack trees. I think I even filmed this section of road in the fall when it was all in full foliage. All tamarack trees. Beautiful. Those will be in full bloom. Give them another 6 weeks. This area doesn't have leaves on the trees until the middle of June. They start to grow at the beginning of June. I just stopped because I like seeing all this nice water here. There's no blockage. There's just a lot of melt going on. So there's a surge coming out. Hasn't rained in a while. There's another pipe up there which is showing a little bit of damage, and you even see there's pieces of plastic pipe around. I showed in a lot of videos over the years, the logging company, when they tear out a pipe, they'll just leave it in the woods right next to the site. I see zero issue with it when it's a metal pipe. It'll just rust back into the environment with very little issue. There's iron everywhere in the water. The iron is not the problem. The zinc coating on it, still really not a problem at all, but the plastic degrades into microplastic all over the swamps, and they're starting to clean them up now, which I'm very happy about. I made a little bit of a stink about that. As far as the plastic culverts, I had a conversation about those with my boss, and I was showing that my findings out here, over 95% of pipe failures are plastic. They get crushed. And I also was showing that plastic pipes, the vast majority of them, probably 50% of them, are crushed within the first 2 winters. So that's a problem. Plastic theoretically will last longer, but it's soft. It gets crushed. Even if it's buried deep enough, the frost heave will likely crush into it. It'll eventually settle and crush it like an oval. While on the other hand, metal pipes will operate out here for 50 years because there's no road salt. That's a big enemy. Even on the regular roads, 30 years until they start degrading, and oftentimes they'll get longer out of it because if you pack it with nice rock around it, it's fine. If you pack it with mud, then it starts to wash out the road from beneath. But that being said, the metal pipes last probably 10, 15 times as long just because they're strong. You see right here, they put a bunch of wood in the road again. Here's another one. That's a plastic one. Oh, here's another plastic one all mangled and destroyed. Oh, here's another plastic one all mangled and destroyed. You see what I mean? The metal ones don't even have to be buried down to code. The heavy trucks just won't crush them. Unless they're aluminum, but those are rare when we see those. Aluminum is good because they'll last very, very long time. But they do have similar problems like the plastic ones. They do crush pretty easily with frost heaving. What do we got? Here's another one. That one's in okay shape. Here comes another one, I think. Nope, just a rise in the road. But yeah, plastic pipes and metal pipes almost cost the same. But the manufacturer will tell you the plastic one will last 70 plus years. That is not true. Theoretically, they will. In reality, they do not. Do not buy plastic pipes. They are pieces of garbage. They don't like that I'm here. Kind of surprised they're not flying away. Ducks usually fly away, not the geese. But I know why I'm here. These water levels are elevated. You look at all the bushes and stuff, but is it a blockage or is the pipe at capacity and this is just retaining a little bit for the time being? I can tell this has been an issue of beavers, but not for a while. I can just tell beavers used to live here at some point. Wow, what a beautiful view off of this bridge. That lake is a bit low. I bet there's a dam somewhere. There's a lot of dams out here deep in the wilderness to prevent flooding down in the cities. It retains it up here. And it's pretty low. They keep them a bit low in the winter for two reasons. To prevent expansion into the dams causing damage, and to have room for the spring melt, which really isn't happening this year. And you see the grass growing everywhere. It's typically kept a bit low. And the other side, you can tell the water builds up in there too. Also looks pretty nice. Hopefully no one comes for a moment. I gotta put some ribbons up. This is a pretty bad erosion mark right here. See, nothing's wrong with the drainage ditch. It was probably full of snow when this happened, where it couldn't get in it, or just extremely over capacity. A nice flag that we can see in either direction for night hazards. All right, I'm stepping out again. I'm gonna put another ribbon here. So we got a culvert under here. Two culverts actually, no blockage. Yeah, this could be bad if someone hit that. It's not the worst, honestly. Honestly, I think it started as a stress crack that just eroded. It looked worse driving by. I don't think it's a big deal, so I'm not really gonna put up too many ribbons. We don't get a break today on this road. There's a garbage plastic culvert that's sunk right here. That's why we have water building up, so we gotta get the blue ribbons out now. And I didn't even get to drive more than 10 seconds from the last marking. You gotta put a big piece, because when the leaves grow, you're not gonna see a little piece up there. Okay, we just went through a complete roll of blue ribbon today, half a roll of yellow. At the beginning of the day, I wasn't showing what I was doing out here, but then I decided, we're not really gonna find too much eventful stuff. We didn't find really any big uncloggings today. Just a few minor things that I showed. And it's weird, I was pretty tired earlier. Now I'm waking up. Unfortunately, it's about to get dark, so right now it's 6 o'clock this time of year. We have about another hour, it's just cloudy. We'll keep driving around until it gets dark. That'll put us at a full 12-hour day on the road. And that'll probably clock us in at about 320 miles. We're now on 294 miles since we started moving this morning upon waking up. these roads, if we have a normal unclogging season, I'll be stopping one after another. Sometimes I have put as little as 30 miles on the vehicle. Like last spring, I was so busy, I was out of the vehicle non-stop. This year, I'm showing you erosion and things, but this stuff is kind of far and few between of what I'm actually considering bad enough to get out at. So that's where the miles comes from. I've been just trickling around on all these roads for the past 12 hours, and when the sun goes down, I'll pull over, sleep. But before I sleep, I'll probably do editing for a couple of hours on this video. That's how I do it out here. Not too much editing today. We didn't use camera 2 or anything, just inspections. It's mainly just splicing things together nicely. I don't like waiting to edit anything, because if I wait, then I have to watch everything 100% through a few times. Like when I'm splicing, I know what clips were good and what were bad because it's all fresh on my mind. I can do it fairly quickly on a day like this. See those pieces? I bet that's going to be firewood. That's why they put it aside. There's logging camps around here. Most of that's cedar right there. Well, the end pieces, both ends are. And that's just waiting for the trucks to be able to come out. What do you guys think? I've been thinking about making a video. I kind of want to label it something like the Lorax camp. I want to camp in one of the wide open clear cuts where you just can't see trees. There's a couple like that where they logged between a couple hills and you just literally cannot see a tree standing within sight. I kind of want to camp in an area like that. We're not going to start a fire because it's kind of a fire hazard in those wide open areas with sticks everywhere. Oh, the road's getting bad here. We got to go very slow, put it in 4-wheel drive because we don't want to slip into the ditch, get stuck. I don't think this is going to go. Don't want to slide to that. It's okay, it's my work truck. I've already got some scratches. I try to avoid scratches, but sometimes we just got to go down some very, very narrow roads. There's ice underneath the snow because this has been thawing and refreezing over and over again. Just gotta keep it slow. Now the road's improving. Been thinking about doing a spring camp like that in a wide open field. Because in the summertime, the raspberry bushes and seedlings will start growing in because they're gonna replant it in the spring. Some of the clear cuts from the winter. Ooh. Good. We didn't go off too much there. All right, we got a good spot here to turn around. We will continue progress on this road at a later point. Maybe we'll come back to the same location here, maybe in June. Maybe we'll come back to this place in June. I don't want to risk getting stuck. And these are also the areas when you got melting snow that it can just open up into a mud hole. I don't say this road's worth the risk. We're going to turn around. We'll try another road in the morning because now we're going to get back on the main artery. I don't think we're going to find anything interesting before it gets dark again. All right, now I'm coming back to these locations. Now I'm realizing why the road here washed out. When I got out up there and put the little ribbon and I showed the 2 culvert pipes that are completely open, those 2 culvert pipes hit capacity. It went down the ditch. Yeah, that's where all this tons of water came from. It couldn't fit through the 2 pipes. So it all came down the road. That's what caused all this erosion that we're still currently driving through. So that being said, where is it crossing? Right here. We just went over the pipe and it's tiny. But it's not clogged. It's really strange how those pipes are able to hit capacity, but yet just about everywhere else, there's really no flooding this spring. I guess it's an isolated area with more snow, so it could flood a little bit worse. Or those pipes are just severely undersized. I think for that riverbed it should have a bridge. That might happen quite often. There's some areas out here, there's culverts where there should be bridges, and every major rainstorm will take it out. After a while, they do usually replace it with a bridge. But there's some areas, there's this one I showed, there was an 8-foot deep cavity down to a small pipe. They filled the road back in, and they left the culvert clogged. So it washed out again a month later. They filled it back in, unclogged it finally. Then it washes out again because it's still below capacity. It's still like that. They never put a bridge in there. I'm not quite sure why. Especially on the main arteries. Some of the temporary roads, they don't even put culverts in if they don't have to. Well, I guess we can continue to maybe even potentially 8 o'clock since the sun came back out, giving us a little bit more time. This road is horrible. It was really, really bad a minute ago. Doing some logging there. It actually got better as soon as I turned the camera on, but things went flying in the vehicle. We hit a bad frost heave back there. Look at this vast, wide open space. They don't usually do clear cuts this big. The trees they left standing are white pine because it's going to be lumber. They only took pulpwood, basically everything else. They want the trees that are standing to get bigger before they take them. Those I wouldn't say are old growth. They're not that thick. They were probably planted by the company. Ooh, you saw that culvert over there? That one was screwed up. I guess that's one plus of plastic pipes. They won't cut your tires. There's that clearing down there. It looks like we had some low-class individual throwing garbage, and I don't get it because we are out in the middle of nowhere. It would take me probably 2 hours to get to the nearest town, and yet we have some scumbag. There's an air purifier, I think. If it stays here, no one's ever gonna pick this up. Look at that, it's stuck in the ice. But if I put the stuff up here, I guarantee you the park rangers will pick this stuff up. I can't stand finding stuff like this in the pristine wilderness. It's possible there's still some underneath the snowbank, since I saw the corner of a Keurig machine and I threw that up here. Nothing's even wrong with this stuff. It's faded, but I know as a little kid I still would have loved to play with this stuff despite it being faded. And look at this. As a kid, this would have entertained me more than any toy. I used to love things like that. Well, at least I picked it up because that's gonna grow in with leaves. No one's gonna notice it. I doubt anyone's gonna pick that up. Honestly, if the park rangers saw that, they'd probably pick it up. But I want to make sure it gets picked up, and it will. The park rangers are probably the most likely person you're going to see out here other than the loggers. Time to get out more blue ribbon. There we go. I regret not leaving the camera filming. As soon as I got out, 2 wood ducks flew away. When I was out there, I also hear an owl in the woods to the left. If you see that in the water, a log fell off one of the trucks. I think the culvert is actually right here. And it's flowing. I think further down, they just need to raise the road up. It's not crossing, really. It just needs to be raised up so it can't come into the road. Coming up right here, I see a whole bunch of willow trees, meaning there's always water sitting here. These trees show signs of dying when the water dries up. Here's another example of ditch failure. So the pipe is clearly clogged where the ditch ends, and you see how it's going into the road. The ditch is there. It's wide open. It's full of willow trees, but it's wide open. Instead, it's going down the road causing erosion because this is supposed to be lower. If the pipe clogs by design, it's supposed to go over the embankment into the ditch and continue. Whoever built it did it too high. It did not build up by itself. Sometimes they'll erode by themselves, but it didn't build itself higher. It just wasn't done correctly. This is not the best example, but it works. The end of this drainage ditch, they just swerve it off into the woods, and it can just spill, and no problem. Out of the road, out of mind. But on the other hand, look what's further down the road. Look at this one. Can you spot what's wrong? It's swerving off into a hill. Now, water is the best way to level things out. It's always going to be flat, level no matter what. Maybe this water wasn't here when this was built. Maybe it was done in the summer, but anybody should realize that this is a hill back there. And there should have been a culvert here, going under the road, getting rid of it downhill, not uphill. But that being said, the only reason it's not flooding is because it's overflowing that ditch, following this down to an actual culvert pipe. But the fact that that is even existing is a bit dumb. Clearly a hill. See water flowing downhill? That should have been an indication to whoever built that. These are my markers from a couple weeks back. This time of year, we continuously keep inspecting these roads. It looks like the damage is actually kind of going away. People driving it over are just kind of smoothing out the ripples from the frost heaving. But that's why we check these areas at different times, because there are new issues that weren't here a few weeks ago, and some issues have dissipated because various elevations, the frost is all over the place around here. Here's a good example of the logging forest. Very, very beautiful too. They left all the lumber trees standing. Those will be cut down at a later date. And on the ground, they completely replanted all the pulpwood trees. That's why it looks like a Christmas tree farm. It's quite beautiful. So a lot of times the companies will cycle like this. They will replant all the pulpwood trees, wait 40 years, cut them down, replant pulpwood, wait 40 years, cut down them, and the paper trees, then they'll replant. So the bigger trees usually only get cut down every 2 or 3 cycles. I do not think these are old growth. It's possible. I'm not sure though. Could be. They're very tall. We just got out right here because we've been here in the past, and I gotta figure out if this is over capacity. That's a lot of water going across. I can already tell it's definitely over capacity, but is there a clog that's contributing to that being worse? There's a bit of erosion here. There's the pipe. Does not appear to be blocked. I thought it was there at first because of how it's kind of falling apart. This is slate rock everywhere. This is the kind of road that'll destroy your tires if you're not with the off-road tires. The tires I use they feel like heavy equipment tires. They're very hard. They don't give you a very smooth ride, but it prevents that. So there is a second pipe actually. And it looks like it has collapsed. Let's see if we can kick down into there a little bit. I think this is an issue that we can revisit another day. We're definitely going to come back out to this location. That will definitely not fit in these pipes. But this one here has lost probably 75% of its capacity. That one appears to be wide open, but it's not at capacity. It's not deep enough in the ground for that. But that being said, we're gonna come back out to this one when the ice and everything melts out of there. Because I just felt around with my boot. I can't really do anything. The blockage is partially frozen still. We'll have to come back out. Yeah, we're gonna come back out first thing in the morning. I think with my rake I can eat away at that frozen blockage. Wow, it's so quiet out. I see stars, and I see they're definitely showing up on camera. Way in the distance I hear rapids of water, but it's very, very quiet. I just spent the last hour and a half editing this video together. I actually parked right next to this issue. It's now 8:30 at night. Here's my super bright flashlight. It's on low right now. Now it's on high. We're gonna take a walk right now down to the blockage and take a look at it. And I'm gonna sleep here overnight. First thing in the morning, we're gonna come out, and I'm now noticing I'm the only tire tracks here. No one else has really been down here. And those are moose tracks. Gotta be careful at night with the moose. We don't want to startle them and have them be very angry with us. No, we definitely don't. But we're gonna add this to another video I'm gonna post tomorrow of just this blockage, because I do think it'll be eventful. In the morning I'll set up camera number 2. I'm pretty tired right now. This is also some water. This road hasn't had maintenance in a while. This puddle should not be here. This ditch should be dug out, collecting all this, concentrating it down to the pipe. Remember, the pipes are always installed at a higher point. It's designed to flood as it is when it's over capacity, so it doesn't wash out the pipes, which could be lost downstream, and that adds a lot of price to fixing everything. My house had frogs come out of hibernation this week. I think up here is going to be happening next week, because all the temperatures are going to be in the 70s or in the lower 20s Celsius. It'll be nice. I think the frogs are going to come out. This time of year, they bounce in and out of hibernation. They'll be out on warm days. They'll be back in for a cold day, back and forth. So here's the flood coming up. And we can continue this in tomorrow's video. Thank you everyone for watching today's inspection videos. Most of the time when I'm out and about, nothing really eventful happens. This spring has been a very slow season for me, so I appreciate everyone sticking around even for these more boring videos. This spring season, we have seen less things than ever before, and that's a lot of gasoline we've been using, so some of these videos can cost up to $500 a piece for that reason. It takes days of driving around just to compile what you saw here today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.